They charged humans a docking fee. That was a mistake. Now the galaxy learned something expensive that day. Turns out you can charge humans a docking fee. They'll even pay it. The problem is, humans take compliance real serious. And about 6 minutes later, an entire trading station stopped working. The Kethari considered themselves clever, which, historically speaking, has caused far more problems in the galaxy than aggression ever did. The incident began at Docking Ring 7, Outer Rim Station, Halcyon Drift, a place mostly known for cheap fuel, questionable paperwork, and a noodle vendor that had technically died 3 years earlier but continued operating. At approximately 0914 station time, a Terran cargo hauler requested docking clearance. Nothing unusual there. Humans hauled cargo everywhere, mostly because they were willing to go places insurance companies refused to acknowledge existed. The ship identified itself as TCS Solution. That should have been the first warning. The Kethari docking clerk, third administrator Velk, reviewed the request, adjusted his uniform crest, and applied Regulation 44C, which stated all non-member species were subject to a standard docking tariff adjustment. The adjustment amounted to 12,000 credits. Velk approved the charge without hesitation. Efficiency mattered. The Terrans responded 3 seconds later. Docking fee received. You sure this is right? Seems awful high to me. Velk blinked his secondary eyelids. Station policy. All non-member species pay a tariff. So, you want to charge us more because we are not in your club? Is this mandatory? Mandatory questions were unusual. Most species simply argued. He replied, all vessels must comply with station policy. Guess you got us over a barrel. There was a pause, not a long one. Just long enough that later investigators agreed someone aboard the Terran ship had muted their microphone to laugh. The reply came back calm, polite, and dangerously reasonable. Understood. We'll comply. Docking clamps engaged. The ship settled into the berth with a heavy metallic thud that rattled nearby kiosks and caused the noodle vendor to briefly achieve actual consciousness. Velk logged the successful transaction and moved on with his day for exactly 6 minutes. At 0920, Station Power Grid 3 experienced a minor fluctuation. Nothing alarming, just enough to dim the lights. At 0921, Docking Ring 7 reported all automated cargo cranes had reassigned themselves to Terran control authorization. At 0922, the station accounting network issued 312 simultaneous refund notices to vessels across the outer ring. Velk frowned. Efficiency was no longer occurring. He opened the system monitor. The Terran ship had uploaded a document labeled Administrative Compliance Procedure. Inside was a perfectly formatted request citing 17 interstellar trade loopholes, 3 arbitration treaties, and something called Reciprocal Infrastructure Usage Compensation. Velk read the final line twice. As docking services were rendered, Terran Union billing standards now apply. The station now owed the humans 12,800 credits for temporary utilization of human-compatible docking interfaces. Velk's crest slowly lowered. This was incorrect. He had never heard of such fees and certainly didn't approve them. He contacted the ship. There appears to be an accounting discrepancy. The Terran response arrived instantly. Warm, friendly, helpful. Oh, no discrepancy. We paid your fee. Now we're charging ours. Velk stared at the screen. "That is not how this works." A second voice joined the transmission, older, calm, mildly amused. "Docking works however the paperwork says it works, my friend." Across Docking Ring 7, cargo drones began neatly unloading ships according to Terran logistics optimization standards. Efficiency increased by 40%. Revenue projections increased by 62%. And somehow, every improvement generated another invoice payable to the humans. Velk felt something unfamiliar. Concern. He escalated the issue to station operations, which was the second mistake, because operations decided to enforce compliance. And humans, as the galaxy would shortly rediscover, took compliance very seriously. Station operations believed in procedure. Procedure was comforting. Procedure meant problems had shapes, and shape problems could be solved with forms. Unfortunately, humans also believed in procedure, but for them, there were gray areas and moving borders. They just treated it more like competitive sport. At 0927 station time, Operations Supervisor Tariff issued an official directive notice ordering the Terran vessel TCS Solution to suspend all automated interactions with station infrastructure pending review. The order was transmitted in proper legal format, stamped with 3 authority seals and 1 extremely confident signature. The Terrans replied immediately. "You probably shouldn't do that, cause—" "Comply immediately," came the response. Directive received. Initiating compliance. Supervisor Tariff relaxed. Across the operations deck, several technicians nodded approvingly. Order restored. Situation contained. Then Docking Ring 7 shut down. Not violently, not catastrophically, just stopped. Cargo cranes froze mid-lift. Conveyor belts stopped moving. Airlock scheduling paused itself. Traffic beacons switched to standby mode. Every system connected to Terran authorized processes ceased activity simultaneously. The station did not lose power. It simply stopped functioning. Tarev stared at the board as status lights turned a calm, unhelpful shade of yellow. "What happened?" A technician swallowed. "They complied." Tarev blinked. "Explain." "The directive ordered suspension of automated interactions. The Terrans were running 82% of cargo logistics after their optimization update." A long silence followed. Somewhere in the distance, a docking alarm chirped with passive-aggressive patience. Cargo traffic began backing up immediately. Freighters idled. Fuel schedules slipped. And worst of all, merchants started filing complaints. Merchants were universally recognized as the galaxy's most dangerous life form when inconvenienced. Tarev reopened communications. "Terran vessel, restore operations immediately." The reply came back calm and professional. "We would love to. Unfortunately, your directive requires suspension until review concludes. We are in full compliance." Tarev's crest twitched. "You may resume under temporary authorization." A brief pause. "Ah," said the older Terran voice again. "That would require Form 88 Delta exemption approval." "That form does not exist." Another pause. "It does now. We filed it 5 minutes ago." Station legal servers chimed as a new regulatory submission propagated through the network. Velk, the original docking clerk, watched the cascading notifications with growing existential discomfort. The humans had not hacked anything. They had simply used the rules aggressively. Meanwhile, docking ring 7 descended into paralysis. A men-in convoy threatened arbitration. A luxury liner demanded compensation for delayed departure. Internally, systems shut down. Climate control moved up and down radically. Thrusters powered up and shut down, causing dizzying jerks on the whole ring. In the food court, waste rerouted up through the floor. Everyone fled from a stench that etched itself into the walls. The noodle vendors sold out for the first time in recorded history. Revenue losses began climbing at a rate accountants described as spiritually upsetting. Operations convened an emergency review board. 12 administrators assembled around a projection table displaying one stubborn fact. The Terrans were technically correct, which was widely understood to be the worst possible kind of correct. Terran would have been pulling his hair out, if he had any. Tariff attempted diplomacy. Terran vessel, perhaps we can negotiate a resolution. The response arrived instantly. Oh, sure, we are always open to negotiation. Humans love negotiation. That should have sounded reassuring. Instead, several administrators felt a sudden and unanimous sense of impending financial tragedy. A new document appeared on the screen. Terran Proposal, Operational Partnership Agreement. Velk skimmed the summary. Under Terran management assistance, station logistics efficiency would increase dramatically. In exchange, the humans would receive a modest percentage of all processed trade revenue. The percentage was listed as 18%. Tarev nearly molted. That is extortion. The Terran voice sounded genuinely surprised. No, extortion involves threats. This is payment for optimization. At that exact moment, 3 incoming cargo fleets diverted away from Halcyon Drift due to delays. Projected losses doubled. The review board stared at the numbers, then at each other, then back at the proposal. Velk quietly realized something horrifying. The docking fee had not started a dispute. It had started a business negotiation, and the humans were winning. He opened a private channel. Why are you doing this? The Terran replied after a thoughtful pause. Friend, you charged us a convenience fee. We figured if we reduced your costs, you'd reduce our fees. Another voice added gently, We're just demonstrating convenience. Across the station, idle cargo ships drifted in silent traffic jams while accountants began calculating how quickly pride converted into bankruptcy. Operations prepared their next move, which, like most decisions made under administrative panic, would escalate the situation considerably. At 0946 station time, the Halcyon Drift Security Division made the single most predictable decision in bureaucratic history. They chose enforcement. Security Chief Ralvek was not an unreasonable being. He was, however, a being who had once resolved a labor dispute by confiscating an asteroid. He preferred solutions that involved boots, specifically other people's boots. Chief Ralvek assembled a boarding team of 12 armored officers and transmitted a formal notice to the TCS solution. You are ordered to relinquish remote administrative control and prepare for inspection. The Terran reply came back almost cheerfully. Well then, come on over. Please dock at Airlock C. Airlock C was, according to station schematics, fully functional and unremarkable. That should have been suspicious. The boarding team entered the umbilical corridor with weapons secured but visible, which was the galactic equivalent of clearing one's throat loudly. The outer hatch opened. The Terran airlock interior was clean, organized, smelled faintly of coffee. Ralvek had never encountered a vessel that smelled relaxed before. Two humans waited inside, one younger leaning against a bulkhead with casual interest. The other older, holding a tablet and wearing an expression typically seen on professors who already know how this lecture ends. "Welcome aboard," said the older human pleasantly. "We're in full compliance." Ralvek stepped forward. "You have interfered with station infrastructure." The older human nodded. "Correct. You admit this?" "Absolutely." Ralvek paused. Confessions were usually followed by resistance. "Then you will restore station control immediately." The younger human tilted his head. "Oh, we can't." Ralvek's crest rose. "You cannot?" "Correct," the older one said. "That would violate Directive Notice 7A, subsection 4, suspension pending review." Ralvek stared at them. "You are manipulating procedural language." The older human tapped his tablet. "No manipulation, just reading comprehension." Behind them, on the ship's central display, Halcyon Drift's entire logistics grid scrolled in clean, optimized patterns. Ran in simulation, freight routes simplified, idle drift reduced. Revenue projections climbing steadily, though all improvements remained paused. Ralvek tried intimidation. "You are obstructing station authority." The younger human straightened slightly. "Actually, we are protecting ourselves from liability." "Liability?" "Yes. If we resume operations without exemption approval and something goes wrong, we could be fined again." There was a quiet beat. The older human added gently, "We learned our lesson about fees." Across Docking Ring 7, merchant traffic continued stacking up like unpaid regrets. Security Chief Ralvek decided subtlety was inefficient. He turned to his officers. "Seize their control systems." The younger human blinked once. "Oh, you don't want to do that." Ralvek ignored him. Two officers advanced toward the central console. They never touched it, because at that precise moment, every external docking clamp along Docking Ring 7 disengaged simultaneously, not violently, not destructively, just enough to release physical contact. Dozens of cargo vessels drifted free by a few centimeters. Alarms triggered. Docking thrusters engaged automatically to correct positioning, except those thrusters were currently offline due to suspended automation, which meant the station now had several hundred multi-ton freighters performing gentle, unsupervised ballet. Operations control erupted in shouting. Ralvek froze. The older Terran sighed softly. "Told you." "You are threatening the station." "No," the younger human replied calmly. "We're demonstrating what non-optimized infrastructure management looks like." On the main display, a timer appeared. Manual correction window 0759. Ralvek stared at it. "What is that?" "Estimated time before drift alignment becomes inconvenient." "Inconvenient how?" The younger human offered a sympathetic smile. "Statistically expensive." Across Halcyon Drift, maintenance crews scrambled. Pilots shouted over comms. Merchants began using language normally reserved for war declarations. The timer ticked down. 07-12-06-48-0603 Ralvek opened a secure channel to operations. They can end this? Yes, Velk whispered from the other end. Instantly. Ralvek looked at the two humans again. Neither appeared stressed. Neither appeared aggressive. They simply looked patient. The older one folded his hands. Chief, this situation began over 12,000 credits. The younger added, which incidentally we have already earned back twice in projected optimization. The timer hit 4:55. Somewhere outside, two freighters gently bumped. Nothing catastrophic, just a soft metallic kiss followed by financial despair. Ralvek exhaled slowly. What do you want? The older human didn't hesitate. Partnership. The timer continued counting down. And for the first time since 0914 station time, Halcyon Drift realized this was never about docking. It was about leverage. At 0958 station time, Halcyon Drift Station officially reconsidered its position on docking fees. This reconsideration occurred approximately 3 minutes before several hundred drifting cargo vessels converted minor inconvenience into generational financial trauma. Operations Supervisor Tarev authorized emergency negotiation status, which, translated from administrative language, meant, please make the problem stop. Security Chief Ralvik lowered his weapon. Slowly, carefully, like a being discovering gravity might be optional. What, he asked, choosing each word with visible effort, does partnership entail? The older Terran smiled the way experienced mechanics smiled when someone finally agreed to read the manual. Nothing dramatic, he said. We restore optimized logistics. You rescind the docking fee and adopt reciprocal billing standards. Tarev's voice crackled over the comm channel. That would grant Terran's permanent operational influence. The younger human nodded. Correct. That is unacceptable. Outside the viewport, another freighter drifted gently sideways and tapped a fuel hauler. Alarm tones layered together like nervous music. The timer read 0 to 11. The older Terran leaned slightly closer. Supervisor, your station loses approximately 8,000 credits per minute right now. A beat. We lose nothing by waiting. The timer hit 0158. Somewhere deep in operations control, an accountant made a noise generally associated with medical emergencies. Tarev spoke again, voice thinner now. What percentage? 18, said the human calmly. That is excessive. The younger human shrugged. We're negotiable. A long silence followed. Ralvik noticed something unsettling. The humans were not pressing, not threatening, not raising their voices. They were simply allowing math to continue existing. The timer reached 0121. Tarev inhaled sharply. 12%. The older Terran considered this seriously, then shook his head. 17. 14. 16. Another freighter rotated slightly off-axis. A chorus of pilots began shouting simultaneously across open channels. Ralvik quietly muted them. 15, Tarev said at last. The humans exchanged a glance. The younger one nodded. The older human extended a hand. 15% partnership. Docking fee rescinded. Reciprocal billing recognized. Tarev hesitated exactly half a second too long. The timer reached 0042. Agreed. The older Terran tapped his tablet. Instantly, across Halcyon Drift, Cargo cranes awakened. Thrusters corrected drift. Traffic lanes reorganized themselves with elegant precision. Alarms silenced one by one. Freighters slid back into alignment as if the station had suddenly remembered how to function. The timer vanished. Projected revenue surged upward. Efficiency metrics exceeded historical records within 30 seconds. Dock and Ring 7 returned to perfect order. Ralvec stared through the viewport as chaos reversed itself with unsettling ease. "You could have done this at any time," he said quietly. The younger human nodded. "Yep." "Then why?" The older human finished gently. "Because compliance matters." A new document propagated through station systems. Halcyon Drift Terran Operational Partnership Agreement. Below it appeared a smaller notice. Docking fee policy, updated. Terran vessels, exempt. Velk, back at his administrative console, watched the update finalize. He also noticed something else. Station revenue projections were now higher than they had ever been. Merchant complaints dropped to 0. Cargo throughput increased dramatically. And every improvement generated a modest, perfectly legal payment to Terran accounts. He opened a private channel to the practical solution one last time. "Was this your plan from the beginning?" The older Terran chuckled softly. "No." A pause. "We just really dislike convenience fees." Hours later, Halcyon Drift returned fully to normal operations. Mostly, station administrators attended mandatory seminars titled Understanding Human Compliance Behavior, and throughout the Outer Rim, a quiet update spread through trade networks. Charging humans small fees often resulted in large lessons. As for the TCS solution, it departed peacefully the following morning after filing exactly one final invoice. It was labeled Consultation Services, Administrative Efficiency Demonstration. The station paid it immediately. Nobody argued. Because by then, Halcyon Drift had learned something the wider galaxy would continue rediscovering for generations. Humans rarely started conflicts, but they possessed an extraordinary talent for finishing paperwork.
That's the story. Now, if you like getting these a little early, memberships are open. Appreciate you either way. If you want more like this, there's more on this channel. And if you feel like sticking around, hit subscribe. My Patreon site is SciFi Signal A J Maraine. Ebooks by A J Maraine are also out there. All right. I'll see you on the next one.